Good morning. It's Thursday. And today, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Well, that's not exactly true. I've come up with a topic, but then I've purposefully not done any thinking about it before I've started recording. Why would I do that? Because the topic I've come up with is improv. Improvisation is a key element of running Dungeons and Dragons. Well, to be honest, it's a key element of playing Dungeons and Dragons as well. That's kind of what a lot of the game's about. But when I'm talking about it specifically in regards to a dungeon master, what I'm talking about is the fact that you don't have to have everything prepped in advance. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do in a specific situation or what you're going to say in a specific situation. Sometimes you can just roll with it. A lot of times, actually, you can just roll with it. Okay, here's something. I used to watch an old television show. Now, some of you may or may not have heard of it. It may or may not still exist in some form or another. But it was called Whose Line Is It Anyway? And one of the bits that they would do on this show is they would have the comedians up on the stage and they would ask people from the audience to shout things at them. A profession, a place, an activity. That's basically what you're getting in Dungeons and Dragons. You've got a group of players. Okay, the players say, we want to go into the forest. Forest, there's your location. Maybe you roll on a encounter table. Wolves, there's your event. So we have players in a forest with wolves. Now we have to make a story where that works. Okay, well, wolves are usually found when they're hunting. So we want the wolves to be hunting. Hunting means they're looking for food. The players have food. When do the players have their food out? When they're camping. Okay, so the players set camp for the evening in the forest, and as they're bedding down, a pack of wolves attacks. It might not be Pulitzer Prize winning material, but it'll shake things up a little bit. Now, that works if your players are low level. What if they're higher? What if they're a lot higher level and you want to make it more challenging? Okay, well, we need to tweak it a bit more then. Okay, so the forest is protected by druids, and they don't want any outsiders in it. The wolves aren't just wolves, they're shapeshifters. So for our encounter, this time, because now they're intelligent, they wait until the players go to sleep, and then werewolves and druids attack them for trespassing on their land. Again, it's not going to, win any awards, but it will give you an interesting encounter. And it works in almost any situation. If you can figure out who's involved, where are they, and what's happening, which, like I said, your players will provide you some of this. Your players will be shouting the direction they want to go. You've got plenty of encounter tables or other random things that you can throw out if you just want something off the cuff. And then you just put it together in a narrative way. that's a lot of D&D. There was a time when most games were run like that. There were the early days where the dungeon was the big thing. But then as soon as people started leaving the dungeons, and as soon as that became the style, you entered an era of play there that lasted probably 5-10 years, where random encounter was the story. We're adventurers wandering the world and running into random things to fight. And for a while, that was all the story there was. And then the narrative came back into it, and we have the game that we have today. But yeah, it's not everyone can do it. People say, "Oh, I'm no good at improv. I have to plan ahead." Well, anyone can improv. Anyone can spin up a situation. It doesn't have to be an instant classic every time. But you'd be surprised how often your players will remember something that seemed like an insignificant encounter. When one of your players 6 months down the road will turn around and say, "Yeah, you remember when we were ambushed in the woods by wolves?" And maybe they didn't set a watch. Who knows? And that's the reason they remember it. But it's always going to be a combination of the player's actions and the DM's narrative that are going to cause memory. That's when those two things come together, that's when something becomes memorable. It's never going to be memorable simply based on the GM being amazing. It's never going to be memorable just because the player did something fantastic. There has to be an interaction between the two, and that's when you get a great game. Anyway, nice and short today. I'm going to leave it at that. And, next time you're running a game, improvise something. You'll enjoy it. Have a great day.